My name is Tim DuRoche. I am the Community Outreach Manager here at Portland Center Stage. And we wanted to take advantage of the fact that we have both the playwright and director of the Buckminster Fuller show here, and that we have also with us Allegra Fuller Snyder, who is sitting to my left, who is Buckminster Fuller's daughter. As we say in the show, for the first time in history, this is a quote from Fuller, "It is now possible to take care of everybody at a higher standard of living than any have ever known. Only 10 years ago, the more with less technology reached the point where this could be done, and all humanity now has the option of becoming enduringly successful." So Portland, of all places, where we're embracing sustainability on many levels, environmental, social, cultural, it's a great opportunity for us to kind of pull out what Gregory Bateson calls the pattern that connects. And in this situation, that pattern would be Buckminster Fuller. So I'm really happy that we could have Allegra here and Doug here. And I think what I'm going to do is really just begin by saying to Allegra, what was it like to grow up with Bucky?
Well, I thought he was a great father. I didn't realize that he was any different from anybody else. I think I first realized when maybe he did things a little bit differently was when I was 4 or 5. He was making the Dymaxion car in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and I would drive with him in the car, both in its chassis form and then when it was, and people would crowd around, and I could see that this was something quite unusual, and he had something to do with it. So, but he was as well, if you've seen the play or know, my father was had a passionate belief in what a child was capable of, and therefore he really. And the only difference he would say is that the child doesn't yet have the experience. There's a book out called Tetrascroll, but that comes from, I was sick with measles or mumps or whatever at 4, I guess, and Daddy was a wonderful storyteller, and so he sat down. I was in bed and fussing around, and he started to tell me the story of Goldilocks, me, and the 3 bears. But we went out into the universe, and in that process, he explained to me Einstein's theory of relativity. I don't guarantee that I got it 100%, but that was the kind of thing that he would do as a father. That he felt that, and it was actually, he felt that if he could get ideas to a place where I was understanding them, they were about at a place where he could begin to share them with other people, that he had gotten his thinking clear enough. So that's what it was like as a father.
Now, so much of the script is it's sections of Bucky's writing, it's pieces of history, and I'm wondering, Allegra, for you, is there ever a point where pieces of dramatic license become confused with memory, or you've seen so many versions of this play, and you guys have been involved in so many conversations. Is there a point at which memory and life stops and the play begins, or are they all starting to become one piece?
All of these, the words that you hear, are words that found themselves coming from my father's lips from, one time and another. But there is also sort of the process of creating, mythologizing my father as well. So none of these things would be, oh, I remember that one, because it wasn't. All of these things were repeated over and over again. Daddy never made any notes at all about what he was going to say. And he would go into a particular audience, and this thing that he's doing is real, he really is, he talks later about metaphysical and all these, he is really sensing the audience and sensing where he is at that very moment, and also what, I mean, he often would say, so now, today, what is the most important thing that we can be doing today? So whatever sort of critical topic has come up would then be the springboard for him starting. But then all of these things, because the more you get to know and understand Bucky and his comprehensive perspective on things, all of these things that Doug introduces are critical themes to him. So they may come up in the beginning or the end or somewhere in the middle or shaped in a different shape and form, but they'll be there somewhere. They'll be there somewhere because there are things that he has to, to give you the full picture, which was what he intended to do. And as some of you know, he was very famous for talking 3, 4, 5. I think there's been a record of 7 or 9 hours of talking.
Well, Doug, that's sort of your first experience with Bucky, isn't it? The mid-67, 68?
Yeah, it was 1968, right in the middle of, between probably the two assassinations, and a wild year. And I had come out of science and math and was going into political geography, maybe going to be a lawyer like my dad, and my mother had been more science-oriented. So I had this split between the humanities and science. And my brother was an artist, and he was at the College of Creative Studies where Hugh Kenner was, and Hugh Kenner brought Buckminster Fuller in there. My brother called me up one morning and he said, "You got to come and listen to this guy talk." And I said, "I'm too busy, I can't." He said, "Well, come whenever you can, he talks all day." So I went and saw the beginning and went to a class, came back, he was still talking, went to dinner, came back, he was still talking, went to a rehearsal, came back, he's still talking. And more people, the chairs weren't full at the beginning, but then they were full when I'd come back, and the floor was full, and then the windows were full with people literally hanging in the windows listening to him talk. So, you know, how that got through the community, but it was just like people would leave and drag people back, and then suddenly more and more. And he did that for 4 or 5 days. So that was my first introduction.